welcome to Podtoid. I'm CJ.
Ni hao, wadaminja shi Chris.
Show off.
I'm Dan.
Don't you want to say that in Canadian, Dan?
Hey, I'm Dan. What's to the boots?
You're right. I'm Charlotte.
There we go. This is episode 462. Thank you for joining us today. We have a fun show planned for you. It's always fun when we could talk about Mortal Kombat, and Chris is on the show. So we're going to be doing that a little bit later. And we're also going to be looking at FIFA 2021 and Watch Dogs 2. Charlotte, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm good. I've been baking up a storm the past couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah?
I've been in my apartment a lot, so I've just been, taking all the flour in the cupboards and just making magic. It's been wonderful.
Do you have your sourdough starter, or is that not a thing anymore?
I'm too lazy for that. I've been making a lot of scones and then getting people mad on British Discords by asking people if it's scones or scones, because that's a debate that very boring British people have as to whether it's pronounced scones or scones. So, yes.
Chris, how do you pronounce it?
Scones.
Okay.
Yeah, because Chris is a good lad. You see, people who pronounce it scone are just not right in their head.
It just sounds weird. It just
Yeah.
It's up there with, like, we've talked about this on the show before, like all the different names for bread rolls that people have in this country. Like, and there's so many. There's like 16.
Have I brought this up on Podtoid before about the whole scones and whether you put jam and cream on it? Yeah, that was to do with nights and bikes. Yeah. But my scones have cheese in them, so I completely dodged that debate. But they're very good.
That sounds good.
Yeah, so I've been having a great time.
I wish I could do more baking here, but there's something with the altitude that I live at that I have to adjust the temperature and the cooking time, and I just don't have the energy in me to really learn how to do all that correctly.
Mate, I've heard some fucking excuses in my time. But I've never heard anyone accuse the altitude of keeping them from baking.
Do you not know that?
All right,
well,
yeah.
I can believe it. I can totally believe. I understand how it works, but like, no one's ever said to me, I'd love to bake more, but the radius is like too high here or whatever.
Right, I want to defend CJ here, because if you watch, I think it's Ashens. Everybody knows Ashens, right? YouTube channel. He did a very old, literally from the 1970s, cake mix, like a microwavable cake mix, and he tried it out. And it did have instructions on the back saying how you have to adjust the recipe if you're at a higher altitude. So, yeah.
We have that on a lot of packaging here. Also, I have a world famous bakery a block away from my apartment. So really, I don't need to do any baking. It's just that when it's the summertime and when people are coming here for vacation, I kind of don't want to go into that very crowded area just to pick up a loaf of olive bread. So, I tried making muffins the other day. I think they were way undercooked in the middle, though, because it was still batter. Yeah.
And I understand that because, I always wanted to write a comic, but for a while, I lived down the road from Alan Moore. And that's not even a lie. That's the absolute truth. But because Alan Moore lived down the road, I was like, why do I need to write a comic?
Touché, Moise. Touché. Well, before we get into the show, I just wanted to start us off with a quick story out of Europe. As you are probably well aware, much of the world is in some state of reopening during our COVID pandemic. Some are doing it better than others, but one of the things many countries are trying to get started again is tourism. There's a lot of money to be made from tourists, even if Americans can't travel outside our own country. God damn it. And a small beach in Holland may have found the perfect way to get people out into the sand: tiny bags of cocaine. Last Tuesday, nearly 300 packages of cocaine washed up on Kloot Beach in the Netherlands, and since then, people have been swarming to the beach from all over the country looking for drugs. Police say more drugs are likely to wash up on the shore, and on Saturday, one person was arrested for trying to carry out 30 pony packs of coke that they found at the beach. So instead of going here looking for sand dollars or other seashells, people are coming here looking for some Coke. By the way, if you just heard a sonic boom right now, that's the sound of every SoundCloud rapper running as fast as they can to the Netherlands.
I mean,
where did they come from? Was it? It must have just been like, did it like maybe there was like a coast, maybe like there was a shipment of it, and the Coast Guard were pull over. You know what I mean? Because you pull over a boat, that's what you do. And maybe they just like dumped, like it's the dumping it in the seas, like the equivalent of like flushing it down the toilet because you're being raided. So I can only assume that's what happened.
yeah,
And
probably.
they just dumped it overboard, and it's just made its way to the shore.
That sounds pretty plausible, actually. I remember when I was reading one of my many books on gangs that they did use speedboats to ship drugs around between Holland and the port cities of the UK. I was just thinking, like, the last thing you want to be doing if you've got this respiratory virus flying around is to be wrecking your nasal passages with cocaine.
I read that in a book too, and by read that in a book, I mean I played Grand Theft Auto.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, that's a pretty intense shipment to just kind of disappear off the coast. But you know, I just rewatched The Fast and the Furious yesterday for the first time and that shipment of DVD players and TV and VHS combination units with a street value of $6 million that they steal. You know, there's some films that you watch and they're just of a time. I think The Fast and the Furious, although it's a great movie, might be the most of its time movie ever. And if those DVD players weren't hot enough, here comes Michelle Rodriguez wearing pleather flame pants and flame nulots.
Hey, I mean, I was watching, or I should say rewatching, The Sopranos, and they're having a debate about DVDs versus Laserdiscs in like the first episode.
It's like there's this time period between say 2001 and 2003 where everything that entered pop culture in those 3 years seems more dated than things that were around in 1998. Like the Matrix hasn't dated as badly as films that came out 5 years after it, because there was just this zeitgeist of music and clothes and technology that all seemed like the future, but kind of was only the future for about 3 years and then got superseded.
That to me is more jarring or dated than, say, seeing someone use a payphone in an old TV show or a movie. Like payphones in Seinfeld, I don't find nearly as funny as DVD players in The Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, exactly.
The fact that there's a criminal enterprise centered around DVD players.
Like if I watch like an old film, and even if it's from like the 70s, I don't know, Taxi Driver, there's still, even though despite the fashions and everything, there's still a sense of thematical relevance. But when it's like, say, The Fast and the Furious, which I'll again reiterate, I think is a good film. I'm not trashing the movie. And it's like, they go to the meet and like it's playing like Limp Bizkit and everyone's wearing like the same kind of clothes, the clothes that like no one would wear today. Taxi Driver feels like it came after The Fast and the Furious.
You are listening to Podtoid.
All right, let's go ahead and get moved on to start talking about games. And Charlotte, we're going to start with you. You're playing FIFA 21.
Yep. So it was released on Friday. I got my copy on Thursday. Before I start talking about it, I just want to sort of create a frame of reference for why I bought 21, because the reaction when I've been telling people that I'm playing FIFA has been a bit negative. Yeah, because people are saying like, oh, why are you playing 21? It's just a reskin of 20. And like, don't you know about the microtransaction stuff? And I've got to say, I just don't know much about the whole microtransaction side of FIFA. I haven't engaged with it yet, and I probably won't. So it just doesn't bother me at the moment. And I haven't played FIFA since 2014. So to be honest, the fact that it might be a reskin of 20, but I wouldn't know. So on that basis, I decided to buy it. I decided to wait for 21 to get the updated teams instead of getting a cheap copy of 20. Mm-hmm. So just talking on the basis, I don't know what previous versions of FIFA were like, except for ones that were on Xbox 360. It's really...
Charlotte,
Sorry, go on. Yeah.
I can kind of give you a bit of background here.
Mhm.
FIFA 98 played Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba
Did indeed.
endlessly. And that's basically all you need to know about the history of FIFA International Soccer from like
Well,
1994 onwards.
yeah, World Cup '98 is a fantastic game, and that is probably my major reference for footballing games. But yeah, I got 21 because I have been watching football a lot more recently.
Mhm.
I've recently moved in with my partner, and he's a Werder Bremen fan, which is a team in the Bundesliga, and I've started watching them. So it's sort of all gathering together that I'm getting a lot more interested in football. And I've always enjoyed playing football. I've always enjoyed playing football games. So why not get FIFA 21? And so far, I'm enjoying it a lot. There's a huge amount of variety of what you can do. Some of this, I'm pretty sure, isn't new to people who've played FIFA 20 and previous versions, but they've incorporated a street version of football called Volta, and that's really fun because it takes away the running from side to side of the field a bit because the arena's a lot smaller. It's a lot more fast paced. That's a load of fun. Online is not that fun for me right now because everybody's so much better than me, but I'm getting a lot of practice in. So Ultimate Football, Football Ultimate Team, I think it's called, is basically trying to get the best team possible and climbing up the leaderboards. And that's not so much something for me right now because I don't know why, it's just not interesting me. But what is interesting me is the manager mode, where basically you create a manager character and you pick your team and you can play the matches yourself, but you're also in charge of things like buying new players and negotiating and, you know, the various management sides of playing football. So it's sort of a mix between Football Manager and FIFA. And why that's also really good is because me and my partner can play that at the same time, because all of the management stuff, we can just do it via one controller and talk to each other about it. When it comes to the matches, you can do it entirely co-op, or you can have that, for example, I would play the opposing team and my partner would play as the team we're managing. Like, that's all completely configurable. So a lot of FIFA is okay for couch co-op, including the management side of things. So we've been having a lot of fun basically taking Werder Bremen through a season and making all the decisions about who we're going to sell, who we're going to buy. Had some funny moments where we've gone into negotiations and offered people wages of €1 just to piss them off. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, as somebody who's just getting into football again, FIFA 21 is exactly what I want. Whether it's suitable for hardcore FIFA fans, I can't say. But for somebody in my situation, it's a really good game. And I think I'm going to I think I'm going to taper off playing it as the weeks go on. But I think I'm going to play it now and again throughout the year, probably, because it's just something you can pick up and play a game of and then put back down. It's pretty good for that.
Now, are you playing as teams that are not Manchester United or Real Madrid? The reason I asked that is because I had an Iranian roommate for about a year, and every Friday and Saturday night he would have one of his friends over, and they'd play nothing but FIFA, and they'd only play as either Manchester United or Real Madrid or Madrid Real. I can't remember which way it goes. And so I was just wondering, like, are those just the two? Because I don't watch much football, so I don't know if those are the like the. I know those are two popular teams because I can remember their names, but I don't know if they're just like the only two teams that people care about.
Well, like, put it this way: if you play as Barcelona or Bayern Munich or some team of that caliber, it's just way easier. And like when you come up across one of those teams and the AI is controlling Bayern Munich, you're like, oh crap, because in real life it's like Bayern just dominates and nobody can catch up to them, like, every single season for the past 10 years. So it's just like, that's a bit unbalanced, but in real life it's unbalanced. So
to your point about people saying that it's just a reskin, I'm not sure if that's necessarily true of the Xbox and PlayStation and I guess PC versions of the game, but the Switch version, I literally, they say on either the box or the website, like, contains all the same features and modes from last year's game. You probably saw it, but like I think IGN gave him like a 2 or a 1 because it's just the same game over again that they're charging full price for.
Yeah, I think that's a fairly common thing with FIFA because FIFA is extremely common in markets where they're still using not just the Switch but also older versions of hardware. So if you look at, like, for example, the last games that were ever sold for the PS2 or something, very often it will be football games because those are the ones that are the big sellers. But my PS4 copy has a sticker on it saying that I will be able to play it on the PS5, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Chris, did you find something funny with the way I pronounce football?
I just like the way it was so air quotes. It sounded almost like you were reading notes based on some long lost sport from the Incan era. Like, there's this thing that you call football.
Well, I didn't want people to get confused with our football.
Or Australian rules football.
Yeah. There's so many different footballs out there.
Or Gaelic football.
Or table football.
The hell is Gaelic football?
I think it's still called football. Just let me do a quick Google. Gaelic football. Yes. Yeah, Gaelic football.
Huh. I'll have to check that out. And wonder when EA is going to make a game about it. All right, let's go ahead and move on to myself real quick. Unfortunately, I have 2 games that I'm playing that I can't talk about. One of them I can't even mention is about to release. So
then why bring it up?
Because I just wanted to say that though I've been spending my time playing that, I've also been diving back into the Excite series from that was on the Nintendo Wii. I'm writing a feature for it for hopefully next weekend.
It's back.
I wish it was back. God, I miss the Excite series so goddamn much. You might remember Excite Truck. That was one of the launch titles for the Nintendo Wii. And if you live in Europe, you probably don't really remember Excite Bots Trick Racing because it wasn't released in Europe. It was barely released in Japan. It's mostly an American game. But I got some copies off of those off eBay for really, really cheap, and I've been diving back in. And God damn, these games were just so much fun. If you haven't played it, they're just standard racers, arcade racers, but like you can hit a huge turbo boost, go off a jump, and just fly across the course. You just get crazy air going over stuff.
It makes me think of, there's this famous Kawasaki motorbike advert that's like, Kawasaki, let the good times roll. And at the end of it, the motorbike literally just takes off and flies into the sky. So I just had like visions of that. And then a real life bear stands up and waves at it. So I don't know what they were on when they made that advert.
It's funny because when you watch it, it looks like when they start flying into the air, this is what you would think like if a Forza game started bugging out, like that's what their cars would do. But no, it's a feature in this game. And then in Excite Bots Trick Racing, you're playing as these little bug versions of vehicles, and every course has different objectives. So you're like kicking a football into a football goal. You're throwing a pie into a clown's face. You're oh shit, what else is there? There's bowling. You're supposed to knock down 10 pins. I cannot remember the last time I had this much fun with a racer, and I'll be writing about it. But this series needs to make a comeback because the Excite series, I think it hit its pinnacle with Excitebots, and I would just love for an easy Switch port of this. Like just bump that shit up to HD and get it out there for $20. I think it would find a footing that it did not find on the Wii, even though it came out relatively early in the Wii's lifespan. I think it was 2009. I want to say it was overshadowed by everything else. Of course, anything that came out after Mario Kart Wii was overshadowed on that because that sold fucking 30 million copies. So, anyways, all right, let's go ahead and move on to Dan. Dan, what brings you to Watch Dogs 2?
Well, I wrapped up Assassin's Creed Unity, and it was next up on the backlog. So I've been exploring the digital version of the Bay Area.
And how gentrified is this version of the Bay Area?
Well, the NPCs talked about poo everywhere. That seems pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I haven't found any sandwiches that are like $18 yet, but I'm sure they're out there. Honestly, you kind of steal everything in this game. Even coffee. You just walk into a coffee shop and he just like grabs a coffee and drinks it and then leaves, which I really appreciate that approach to getting free food.
I hear that I'm not a fan of the whole kind of Watch Dogs concept. Like, it doesn't really work for me at all. But I do hear that like people say Watch Dogs 2 is like way better than the first one.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've played Watch Dogs 2 and I really, really liked it. Um, I mean, thinking back, I feel like it's aged a bit, and the whole techno sort of hackers sort of theme is a little bit old and tired by now. But I had a great deal of fun with Watch Dogs 2, and everything felt very easy to control, whereas the 3 or 4 hours of Watch Dogs I played felt quite sluggish and kind of dull and boring, to be honest.
Well, clearly you didn't spend enough time vaulting over your dead wife's grave. That makes it all worth it.
So Dan,
Dead.
Are you missing Aiden Pierce and his iconic hat?
No, but at the same time, I also think Marcus is just as boring, but that's just my hot take.
Hasn't he got like some kind of really cool melee weapon? Isn't it like
It's like a yo-yo thing or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I barely ever use it because like you can just use gadgets to beat everything in this game. You have a drone that'll then just fly up into the air and show you where everybody is through walls and shit and go, all right, cool. Now I'll just tase them all. And like at first I wasn't really liking the game because I was just playing it very boring. I was just going into the taser, getting behind cover, shooting everyone with the taser, getting the thing, and then leaving, which is the quickest way to beat the game, really. But the fun, obviously, you know, abusing the hacking stuff. But at the same time, that whole system takes a lot longer. Hopping between cameras, using your drone, all that sort of stuff to just take out everybody before you even go into the building. But it is satisfying. Like, it's satisfying to wipe out an entire group of enemies just through hacking various things and tricking them and all that sort of stuff. And then you press circle to back out, and then Marcus just gets up from being cross-legged, sitting down with his laptop. That stuff's neat.
You know, like for me, that bit, that getting up from sitting down cross-legged, that seems like the most strenuous part for me. Like my knees, like just fucking, it wouldn't be able to take that. If they made a third-person game that was like you played me, it'd have to be gadgets because like I can't even get up a flight of stairs anymore without it hurting. So Marcus looks like to me, Marcus is a superhero.
Yeah. The tone is, as Charlotte mentioned, the tone is a lot lighter. You're just the whole. I'm not very far, and I'm only like past the prologue. But the whole vibe of the game just feels like sticking it to Silicon Valley rich types. Whereas in the first game, it was like, yeah, we're gonna deal with human trafficking, drug lords, etc., and my dead niece, and I'm out for revenge. But to be fair, and I fucking hate this topic of ludonarrative dissonance. It made sense when Aiden Pierce was like capping people in the face because he was out for revenge and shit, and he's a vigilante and all this. I don't know why you would ever use a gun as Marcus. He's like a hacker brat. So, but at the same time, you could do that. You could go 3D print an assault rifle and then just kill everybody instead if that's what you want to do.
So whereas the first game's kind of like a Max Payne style.
Yeah.
The second game, these characters, from what I gather from the trailers, are more just kind of we're fucking with the man. But even though they're just fucking with the man, you can just shoot someone in the face.
Yeah, like the tone was more, despite being all dark and stuff, was a little more consistent in Watch Dogs 2 or in Watch Dogs 1. Whereas here, it seems all over the place. We're like 1 minute, it's like, yeah, I don't know, go hack this dude or whatever to like stick it to Silicon Valley, and then the next moment it's like, I don't know, go race a sailboat, and then the next moment you're shooting a group of drug people. Great, hack the world and maybe shoot it as well. But
that is what you should have said on the cover.
There you go. Put that on the back of the box. Hack the world, maybe
shoot it as well.
Some of the ride and the humor though is definitely not for me. As Charlotte mentioned, it feels dated now. It even felt dated in 2016. They have like troll face images and shit like that on the loading screens. I'm like, man, this is maybe a bit much. They really try to go for that anonymous hacker culture that was like from like 2010 basically. And they do the whole, like, voice changing dude in a mask fighting, hey, we hacked you and we stole the movie script for the epic cool movie and we leaked it on the internet. It's like, all right, dude.
That's the guy. I remember that was really popular at the time. That's like the mask that you can have words like appear on it and emojis and stuff.
There's a character that wears that exclusively.
Yeah, because I remember around that time, you'd go to fighting game tournaments, and there was always some fucker wearing one of those, always.
But on a more positive note, Watch Dogs 2 is also just like really good for digital tourism, and that goes a long way nowadays. I hit up Alcatraz. I bought a crappy tourist Alcatraz T-shirt, and it was just fun to kind of like walk around Alcatraz, I guess, and they did a really, really good job, like recreating the Bay Area from, San Francisco to Oakland. It's all really detailed, and it still looks really good. Like, Watch Dogs 2 is a great-looking game.
I have a cell key from my trip to Alcatraz. It's big, it's heavy, it's probably not real, just something they reproduced. But, yeah, Alcatraz tchotchkes are a real thing.
Occam's would pace you so much for that fucking key.
Probably.
That's just something that's so you can just picture it in his collection. Charlotte, have you ever been to Alcatraz?
No.
Me neither.
Well, I've been there digitally.
I watched The Rock, and I watched Slaughterhouse Rock, and other films with Rock in the title, but I've never been there.
Slaughterhouse Rock sounds like the horror spin-off of Schoolhouse Rocks.
Yeah, mate, it's rubbish. It's this horror film about they have to a group. This is going to sound great. Just take my word for it. It's about a group of kids who one of them's getting these psychic things, like nightmares. So he goes to see a psychic who's basically Rose from Street Fighter, like looks just like her, and she's like, "Oh, they're coming from Alcatraz." So they go to Alcatraz to find out the basis of the psychic things, and they meet the ghost of a dead rock star played by Tony Basil. Who doesn't sing her classic hit Mickey, and she's like, I'm going to help you exorcise the demons of Alcatraz, and the whole soundtrack's done by Devo.
Wow. You're right, that does sound good.
It does. Don't fucking watch it. It's rubbish.
This is Podtoid.
All right, that is it for games, which means it is time for the news.
This is the news!
And there's not too much happening this week, but there are still a few stories of interest. Sam Barlow appears to be pitching a sequel to Silent Hill Shattered Memories, which is making me very happy. But more important than that, Mortal Kombat is getting more DLC. It was announced this week, WB Games and NetherRealm will release Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, which will include 3 more playable characters. Mileena is returning, which should make some of the most abusively annoying fans on Twitter happy. Rain is also returning, and I have no idea who that's for. And finally, Rambo, John Rambo, will be a guest character in the game, coming to fans with his original look from the movie First Blood. Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate comes out on November 17th for $60. And if you're asking yourself, wait a second, CJ, didn't they just release the second version of the game for $60? You are not incorrect. Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath Edition came out back in May, which means if you waited for the, quote, complete edition to dive in, as I know many fans are wont to do with NetherRealm games, you're going to have to pony up more cash if you bought that version, if you want to get everything that's in this Mortal Kombat 11 family of games. Chris, you're the big Mortal Kombat fan here. What's your thoughts on Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate?
Oh, like everything to do with kind of Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 11, I'm just in this kind of toxic relationship with it, because I've been playing Mortal Kombat all my life, and I've talked about it so many times on the show, and I've put so many hours and money, and I know all the lore and X, Y, and Z. But like, there's so much about modern Mortal Kombat and its business practices and stuff that I just abhor. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
I don't blindly love Mortal Kombat, despite how long I've been playing it and how much of my life I've dedicated to it. I still know when something's wrongo or when something's not quite right. And it's like this. There's so many layers. Sorry, to look at here. The first one, I'll take what you just said. Yeah, like $60 for this Ultimate, and it's like there was the Aftermath edition that was $60, and then like the characters were released anyway, and it worked out cheaper to buy the characters separately just a couple of weeks later. Someone asked me a question in the article. They were like, what's cheapest for me to do? Buy Aftermath and buy the DLC characters, or buy Ultimate, or because I've just got the base game? And I was like, almost like, look, I don't want to draw you a flow chart, but it's like, there's this thing, Jim Sterling once talked about it, and I forget what it's called, where you almost like intentionally confuse people so they just go fuck it and spend more money. Yeah. And I don't necessarily think that's happening here, but to release 2 updates of a game less than 8 months apart, to charge $60 for both, whereas like the content individually is debatable how much that's worth. Like Aftermath gave you an expansion and 3 characters for a certain amount, but this just gives you 3 characters for the same amount, and neither of them are the same price as the combat pack, which had 4 characters in it. So it's like there is no dollar amount to the content. It's just this flat rate $60 every time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't know about. As for the characters, which is kind of the key topic here, you said something funny, which I'll get to first. You know, you said Rain's in the pack and you don't know who that's for. It's really funny you should kind of say that, because straight up, Rain's kind of for the gay community in Mortal Kombat, because they really like that. Part of the community really likes Rain. And that's kind of why he keeps showing up.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Also, didn't Mortal Kombat X give us a terrible gay character? Can't they just flounce him up a bit more and bring him back?
I always thought that was odd, because I really applauded the way Mortal Kombat introduced a gay character, because they were so non-sensationalist about it. Like, they introduced a gay character and it's not overtly expressed in the story. He makes a common line where he says, oh, the clan kicked me out because they won't accept me for who I am. And Raiden says something like, you know, you'll become the person you are for how you feel, not for who you love, or something like that. And it was like, for a game to put in a gay character and not put out a statement trying to get a pat on the back for it was so novel. And it was so, because, you know, gay characters sometimes turn up in games and publishers actually put out statements where they're like, we've put a gay character in the game, aren't we great?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas NRS really subtly introduced this character, which I thought was really good of them. And then oddly, he doesn't show up in the next game.
Even before I played through the story of Mortal Kombat X and realized he was a gay character, he was my favorite of the new characters in that game, just because he was so cheap and I could beat my friends with him just with his I think it's like a triple kick move that he has.
Right.
Such a dirty move right there. That is just like, that carries me to victory every time.
But yeah, Rain kind of has this this standing amongst like a lot of gay Mortal Kombat players. They really like him. So this double whammy of like Mileena and Rain is kind of a real fan service. Is a real fan service pack. We'll look at the guest character next. And so here's Rambo. Here's Sylvester Stallone as Rambo in Mortal Kombat. Like, I'm not offended or anything. I actually think it's kind of funny. But we talked about on the show a few months ago, I brought up this rumor that like there's a word that Rambo might be coming to the game. And we were all just like, what an odd choice. And here he is, like M60 in hand, bow and arrow on his back. Here's tortured Vietnam veteran John Rambo fighting ninjas in the Netherrealm.
You might have saw it this week on Twitter or at the website, but Kotaku posted an article about Rambo being in the game with the headline, Mortal Kombat 11 cheapens its guest characters' legacies, which, like, I don't know if they know this or not, but there was a Rambo game already, and it was bad. It was so bad Chris, you still refuse to talk to us about it.
Yeah, I'll get around to that. There was also like, a Rambo cartoon where he had gadgets and stuff. So it's like he is the force of freedom after all. But I thought the trailer was really well done, and I think it's funny that he's in the game. The only problem I have with it genuinely is, and we've talked about this before, more fucking guns.
Yeah.
Like, Mortal Kombat was originally like a kind of a rip-off of Enter the Dragon with like, the tournament on the mystical island, but now it's just like fucking the Expendables or something. You know what I mean? And I just want them to ease up on the guns, especially considering kind of the reputation that kind of gun violence has at the moment and has around video games. And then you've got this martial arts game where everyone's packing heat now. And I don't like it. I'm not offended by it. I just don't want to be involved in gunfights. Imagine if someone brought a gun to Street Fighter, there'd be uproar. But in Mortal Kombat, characters have multiple guns. Do you know what I mean? They don't even have one. They have a gun and a rocket launcher. And Rambo, I'm interested to see him in the game. I think it's cool they've got Stallone to do the voice because they didn't get Schwarzenegger for Terminator.
Right.
And I guess that was because he'd signed to do that Predator game. That's what I think might have happened there. But I know there's some disappointment because the question that obviously comes off the back of this reveal is, I guess the Bruce Campbell thing isn't happening, or at least isn't happening yet.
Yeah, that'll be for the Ultimate Plus edition that launches exclusively for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S.
The positive to take from the re-release of the game is they have confirmed it's a free upgrade for next-gen consoles. I wrote in an earlier article, like, are Warner Brothers games the kind of people to give you a free upgrade? No, they are not, but they are. So,
That's one good thing.
It's also worth noting as part of this, you mentioned the Mileena thing. I think Mileena's a great character. When Sindel wasn't around, I picked up Mileena in Mortal Kombat X, and I really enjoyed playing as her. She's cool as fuck. But there's an interesting thing with that because there are a lot of genuine fans who really want that character, and that's cool. But you are right. There has been atrocious abuse from like the community about getting that character in the game, and they've been rewarded with the character. Now, obviously there are true fans there, and those fans want that character and they deserve that character because they like that character. But also, you've kind of sent a message to all those really shitty people just saying, treat us like shit and you'll get what you want.
Yes, I'm now fearful of all those Mortal Kombat Cobra fans who are going to be trying to get his inclusion in the next one. All 7 of them.
Yeah. Or, because it's Stallone, you can have Stallone's Cobra. Marion Cobretti, because crime's a disease and he's the cure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will end with one thing. A tweet went viral that I fucking loved, and I have to kind of share it here. Someone said, Mortal Kombat is basically Smash Brothers, except your dad's in charge of picking the characters.
That's crazy accurate right there. I will just say this. I know there's a lot of people who are worried about, the legacy of Rambo, even though, Rambo Last Blood exists. And I just want to say, if NetherRealm really wants to capture the character, they should make it so he can never hit first. Because after all, Rambo doesn't draw first blood.
Right.
Yeah. Our second story, real quick, has to do with a bunch of video game, movie, and television news because there was a lot this week. The Minecraft movie has been pushed back to the very popular release date of TBA. Netflix is in the planning process for The Witcher Season 3. Ready Player 2, the book, seems to have the same goddamn plot as the first one. We got our first look at the Monster Hunter film from Paul W.S. Anderson. And this week, Mr. Anderson's old film franchise, Resident Evil, announced its cast for the upcoming reboot that will, knock on wood, be more horror-focused than what Paul gave us. So Resident Evil is announced that it will star Robbie Amell as Chris Redfield. If you're wondering if he can play the part, just watch any of his movies where he takes off his shirt, because he definitely has the body for it. British actress Kea Scodelario will play Claire Redfield. Avon Georgia, an actor who I'm not familiar with, given my terrible pronunciation of his name, will play Leon Kennedy, and Hannah John Kamer, who had completely forgettable roles in Ready Player One and Ant-Man and the Wasp, will play.
Oh, hang on, easy up. She was great in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
She was not important to that film whatsoever.
Okay,
that was.
I thought she was really cool. And even in Ready Player One, which is a film I fucking abhor, as you know, I really liked her kind of high-kicking bodyguard character. So, yeah.
Okay, we'll agree to disagree there. I just think Ant-Man and the Wasp made terrible use of Ghost. So,
or instead of agreeing to disagree, we can just agree that you agree with me.
Okay, that works. She's going to play Jill Valentine, which I'm sure won't cause any troubles on the Twitterverse. Already has, will until it releases. Tom Hopper, who is in the Umbrella Academy, which I've heard is really good, will play Albert Wesker, and Neil McDonough will play William Birkin. Dan, are you on board for another Resident Evil film?
Not really.
No?
No. It won't be good.
You're not even interested if they try again? Like hit the reset button, forget everything that's gone before, give it
No, I'd rather sit down and play Resident Evil. Like I'm of the mindset of just I'll just go play Resident Evil, thanks. I'll probably watch it when it's on Netflix or something or some sort of service, but I'm certainly not running to it. Is it a movie or a show?
It's a movie.
Yeah, I'm not running to fucking theater anytime soon to watch that, that's for sure.
What do we know what the idea behind this is? Is it going to actually follow the plot of the games closely this time, or is it going to be more, you know how the first ever Resident Evil film had this whole subplot with Alice? Well, the whole series is about Alice, but it sort of interwove stuff that actually happened in the games with this whole new story about Alice. Have they said whether they're going to just do the games as a film or whether they're going to have all this extra side plot stuff or A plot stuff going on? Because actually, if they do what they did with the other films and have some sort of Alice character, I can see that working. But if it's just the plot of the games, then I think a lot of people just want to play the games.
I'll probably watch the CGI movie, just because that still at least is within the universe of the games, I guess. I guess that's where my priorities are.
To answer your question, Charlotte, they have said that the new film is set in the Spencer Mansion.
Right.
But obviously it has characters from 1 and 2. So I don't know if they're going to retell the plot of the first game, but instead of having characters like Barry Burton and Rebecca, they're going to have Claire and Leon in there as well.
I guess that could kind of work. Of course, remake sandwiched a whole new story in, the games themselves sandwiched new stories into the Spencer Mansion, the whole Lisa Trevor stuff.
Right.
But compressing 1 and 2 like that, I'm not sure. Not sure.
And they are, and you mentioned the series, Dan. They are making a series as well, right? They're making a CGI series at the same time. So
yeah,
it seems like theaters and TV and live action and CGI are all covered for the immediate future. And yes, and you're right, CJ. Some people, basically, it looks like we're going to have a non-white Leon Kennedy and a non-white Jill Valentine. And people are fuming about that because people will fume. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I'm more upset about Neil McDonough being in the film because I don't like him at all, one bit.
Is he Wesker? Is he?
He is William Birkin.
Ah, okay.
So at least I don't, knock on wood, I won't have to worry about him for more than one movie. I'll give it a shot. I'm probably a bit more excited about it than Dan is because I'll definitely see it in theaters. Maybe not opening weekend, but at least within the opening month. In 2022 or 2023, whenever it comes out, because all movies are being pushed back now. But I don't know if I have faith that it's going to be good. I don't think going the horror route will work in a movie as well as it does in a game. And the writer-director is Johannes Roberts. Chris, you might be more familiar with his work than I am because most of his films are British slasher flicks. His most well-known movie is probably 47 Meters Down, which is really not a good sign. Also, the film is being produced by Constantine Film, and is executive produced by Martin Mauskowitz, who did the first series of Resident Evil movies. And I don't know, seems to be like Golan and Globus from a few episodes ago and has really shit taste in movies.
That's the thing, because like I said to Dan earlier, I'm all for the idea of them starting again and pressing the reset button and ignore what's come before and here we go and we're going to give this another shot. And I'm all for that. But then when they say, oh, by the way, it's being produced by the guy who produced Extinction and Annihilation and Trepidation or whatever those films were called, then it's kind of just like, oh, well, that person might still be like, this needs more robots. I don't know. You know what the main problem with that first Resident Evil movie was? Like,
Paul W.S. Anderson?
No. Michelle Rodriguez wasn't wearing a flame pants in it.
The thing is, I'm more excited for the Monster Hunter movie just because I know it'll be funny bad. The Resident Evil movies are fucking hilarious.
Right.
This is going to be a boring, shitty, generic fucking horror movie trying to be Resident Evil, and I have zero interest in that whatsoever.
Yeah. You see, I think sometimes, Dan, like, you're like overly negative about something before you know all the details. But to be fair,
I've heard enough.
Wait, I was gonna say, to be fair, you said Joker was going to be terrible. I told you were wrong, and then I was wrong. So I'll hear you out on this one.
I think the only way I could be interested in this film is if it was it had Danny Boyle involved, and it had the Rage virus, and oh wait, no, I just want 28 months later. That's what I want. Where is that film? I've been seeing a lot of videos on YouTube at the minute about 28 days later and 28 weeks later. They were such good films. Yeah. So good. So good.
Maybe he's playing the long game and he's going to release it like 28 years later.
Oh. This is Podtoid.
We are just about out of time, but before we go, Chris, do we have a shout out this week?
Yes, we do. I tried to rewind the Q posts a week to have a look for some of the birthdays to make sure I didn't miss anyone, but unfortunately I couldn't get the site was having a bit of a hiccup this morning. So if I miss your birthday, I apologize. We'll try and get you in next week. I do remember it was Mike Martin's birthday, who obviously everyone knows Mike Martin. So congrats, fella. Hope you have a good one. Secondly, Trash69 posted a photograph of themselves rocking their new Bat Halloween costume. It was fun to see. Like, I know Halloween's going to be a bit low key this year for obvious reasons. But if you do choose to dress up, if you go to a party or whatever, make sure you put your pictures up on the site. We'd really like to see what you're rocking. It's interesting, like Halloween's not happening, but like Michael Myers can still do his thing because he's wearing a mask.
God damn it.
Yeah, but social distancing, he's less likely to observe. And finally, a shout out to our own Dan Roma, because like I don't think people sometimes understand the time and the effort and the energy that goes into like the video capture and the editing and the thumbnail building, and then the rendering, only to find out like maybe something went wrong, and then the fix and the re-rendering. But video is like really important to the site, and Dan gives up many a night making like good videos for us. So we appreciate him and his work, even if he is a WWE Network subscriber.
Whoa, hold. I was ready to be like, oh, thank you, and then this what? Whoa, hitting low here.
I ain't hitting low. It's just bants, mate.
Joking.
I just want to give two quick shout outs to other members of the Destructoid team, but Dan, absolutely. Thank you for all the work you do here. First, I want to give a shout out to Anthony Marzano, who after roughly 5 months of furlough due to COVID-19 is going back to work. So we'll have our resident weatherman back. Very excited about that. Also, a big shout out to Patrick Hancock, who I guess received his Master's of Education from Rutgers this week, which is a huge accomplishment. So congrats to them both. Just awesome. Awesome to have you back at work, Anthony, and awesome on that getting that degree, Patrick. So good job, guys.
That's one of kind of the longest shout out sections we've had, which is kind of great because it shows that despite how kind of crappy the year's going, it shows that there's still a lot out there that you can kind of, people are still achieving stuff. They're still working hard. They're still producing quality stuff. They're still advancing like aspects of their life and stuff like that. And that's not easy to do in 2020. So
Definitely not.
Well played to all of you.
Yeah, great job, everybody.
All right, that is it for this episode of Podtoid. On behalf of Charlotte, Dan, Chris, and myself, thank you for listening. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, or the Destructoid YouTube channel.